once you know who you are, you can really stand by that voice. You can really stand tall and strong and be like, no, I'm good. I've got to train for this tomorrow. Like, I can't do this. So once you have all of these things and this premise of that, it really starts to help you drive forwards on those parts there.
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast, where I interview space holders from all over the world. I am your host. My name is Karolina, and I am the Connection Catalyst. Today on the show, we have Lizzie Wright, the fitness coach. Welcome to the show, Lizzie. How are you doing?
Hello. Thank you for having me. Yeah, good. We finally got there. Hey, I'm getting on the episode today.
I know. It's been complicated, and it's going to be a short episode today because of the technical issues that we face. But now we are here. So that's the most important, that we are here and bringing the value to the world, sharing our wisdom and our vibes with people, which is the most important thing, I think. The intention behind everything that we're doing is the most important. So we're here to share some health tips for you guys and some beautiful energy. And so perfect. I would love to jump straight into this topic, because I feel like we are not also only the physical body, we are also the mental body, we have emotional body, there are so many layers to us. But firstly, I would love to focus on the physical body, and I would love to know, you as an expert from fitness and health, what do you feel like are the most important tips that you would give to anyone, just like a very normalized tips, let's say, because I know that everyone is an individual and it's unique to everyone, right? You cannot really measure everyone with the same ruler, but there are general tips for health that you would possibly give to every single person in the whole world. So what would these tips be?
Well, a very broad question, but I think if you were to start to focus on someone who is starting out in their journey, not too sure on where they're going. So obviously, when it comes to the physical body, it always depends on who the person is, what's their training background, what are their goals and they're trying to achieve in this world. So I always think first and foremost, it stems more so with the mindset and the mental side of things before we get to the physical. So in terms of knowing who you are, where you're going, what you want to achieve, and what tools you need or support you need to get there. So I think that comes in just a little bit before. And again, it depends on what your journey is. But getting into the physical side of things is first decide kind of the area you want to go into. Is it running marathons? Is it strength training? Is it doing a skill? Or is it going into BJJ? Or, like there's so many things that you want to go out there. So I think kind of fit or find a focus of that really kind of gets you going, gets you turning up. Find something that you really genuinely enjoy, because a big thing with exercise is so many people are trying to chase a trend or trace certain things or all these new high energy approaches. It's just, the thing for me is to coach and just say, you need to find something that you're going to enjoy. You want to either do it for your life, or you're going to have different things that you want to learn and different skills, whether it's horse riding, trampolining, or you're going to hire yourself a personal trainer because you want to get in the best shape of your life or help you with health problems or overcome any injuries. So I think it's really, really knowing your situation and your body and what you want from that. And then once you really start getting into grips of those things and you kind of have more of that direction or clarity of where you're at, is to really home in then on, okay, so how many times a week am I doing this? Do I just need to solely focus on horse riding? Do I need to get some strength training to come in to help that on, it's really then focusing on what else you need to bring this holistic approach, so when it becomes, I think just the question is, there's so many tips out there, right? And there's so much information for people, and it depends on the journey of whether you're wanting to just get started, whether you've got 2 to 3 years of training history behind you. But also, I think biggest is just get clarity on where you want to go with that. And then the physical body will come into play. And then you got to go back to the mindset and you got to create that plan of action and start figuring out those next steps from there.
So you say that mindset is like something that is so interconnected that without it, you cannot do anything, right? It's like the first step to know where you're coming and to actually set up your confidence, your organization, I guess, as well, and motivation. It all comes from the mind. Is that correct?
Yeah. But I'd say it all comes hand in hand. But you need obviously that mindset to get you going, or at least have an idea of some part. You're not going to know everything. You're not going to have all the answers. Even me as a coach, I don't have all the answers straight away, and I don't ever expect anyone to have all the answers in one go to their journey and what they're doing. But I think it just comes hand in hand, because without the physical body, you can't necessarily take the action. If your goals are obviously to achieve lifting the heaviest weights in the world, or if it's going to be horse riding, like I said, or if it's going to be a marathon runner, so, but you need that mind to help you understand how you can maximize your performance, how you can maximize your recovery, how you can maximize like your nutrition and your fueling and your energy to your rest and recovery. So you need it all working together. But again, a lot of, I think with society and everything at the moment, not at the moment, forever, there's lots of either cookie cutter approaches. So yes, training programs and everything are great, but also sometimes it's just, you find people are just signing up for the sake of it, because either they tell you you're going to get 2-week abs, or you're going to get abs or a big booty in like 4 weeks. Yes, you can start making progress, but if you've not been training ever in your life or those things, like it takes years to get to certain standards or certain places. So I think, yeah, when it comes to anything, whether it's a challenge or whether it's you just wanting to train and move for health, is understanding you as a person, because every person is dialed up differently and we've all got different stories and backgrounds. So yeah, I think they pair together very nicely, and when you really master your mind, you can master anything.
Yeah, I vibe with that so much. I feel like it's mind over matter, mind over body. And sometimes it's only about the mental game. I feel like in every sport that you're doing, it's like if you're set up for failure or success, this is where you're going, really, right? You need to be set up for like, okay, I can do this. And sometimes you need to push yourself and go beyond your comfort zone to actually see like, oh, now I did it and I didn't even know that I can. But if your mind is set up with I can, then you probably can. Like I realized that when I started doing yoga, maybe I started 1.5 years ago, and at first it was such an unpleasant stretch for me. It was just, I hated it. I just didn't like it at all. And I always had this story in my mind of like, I can't hold it. I can't hold this plank pose. I can't do this. I can't do that. And then I switched it to I can. I'm strong. Like I can do it. And now I feel like thanks to my switch inside, I'm actually able to hold way more, and sometimes even beyond what I would think is possible, because I set up my mind for I can, and I do, right? So that's like a big part, I feel, with every exercise that we do, that this mental game has to be spot on, and then we can do pretty much anything. And so actually I have one quick question about this physical body. So for a normal person, let's say, right, like me, I'm not really a sports person, I'm just doing yoga and Zumba from time to time. What do you feel like is the perfect amount of exercise, and what type of exercise, whether it's like muscle exercise or cardio, for just a regular person who doesn't want to just train for any specific, sports goal, just for health? What would be the ideal amount of exercise per week, let's say, and an amount of time as well at once?
Yeah. So again, always the answer to that is it depends on the individual, because it's such a broad amount of people in the sense of training background to health, to any health implications that may stop them from pushing certain limits of raising their heart rate to a certain state, and so many different things like that. But if there's no cookie cutter approach, because you've got people who are single, you've got people in families, kids, different age groups, and you always have to consider someone like maybe like single woman, or to a woman who has 2 or 3 kids, for example. That's a very different lifestyle right there. So what might be good for a single woman with no kids or anything to focus on, or single guy, versus a family person with kids, it's going to be very different, so you've got to, or it can be the same, but it's again just that time management. They might be more time poor with the kids, so it might mean like it might just be 10 minutes a day, or it might just mean movement through steps or walking, or it could mean you start from 10 minutes when you're less inclined, like you have less time, and then as you start getting more into that journey, you start creating more time, going, I really love this, I'm going to now up that next week to 20 minutes, then the next week I'm going to do it to 30, or it might take a couple more months to get there. But it depends on your journey and what you're kind of asking from yourself. So again, there's no direct answer that I can give in terms of you should be doing 3 times a week. This is this, because that's the advice that most kind of governments or places give, in the sense of you should do 10,000 steps a day. Then everyone starts to get addicted to 10,000 steps a day when they're not really they're just focusing on like almost like trying to give themselves a solution to a problem of not having much movement, which is great. But then we start to get so critical that we're not achieving the 10,000 steps every day. Then it's a wear on our mental mindset, you know. So I think when it comes to anyone, like if anyone's just starting out on their journey, so focus on what you like. So pick something that you like, that you really like. You said yoga, like that can be great for your recovery, stretching, and obviously if you're getting older and you've got stiff tight joints, like that's amazing. Focus on getting movement every day. So if you've got a desk job and you feel you are getting stiff, is make sure you're getting up from the desk, and that includes that movement every day. I always say strength training in any kind of shape or form. I think there's that kind of what's the word, people anticipate or think strength training is this bulking or lifting heavy or an Olympic weightlifter, and you know, but actually strength training can be anything that you want it to be. Strength training can be something that's actually going to, one, definitely help you as you get older. So from the age of 30, our muscle mass starts deteriorating like 3 to 5% every decade. So if we're not kind of keeping on top of that, our muscle mass is deteriorating. So it's again, knowing your environment, knowing your time. So that I think the way to answer that question is to help the listeners here is, one, know exactly kind of the goals that you're aiming for and know that they might change over time. 2, create that plan of action, actually figure out how much time in your week you have, but be realistic. So if you were a great gymnast when you were younger and you could do like 6 sessions a week when you were like 14 or 16, but now you're 30, 35, you've got a couple of kids, you're not the 16-year-old anymore. So you can't go necessarily think you're going to go have 12-hour weeks of training. Instead, you've got to meet yourself where you're at. So I'd say that point 2 is meet yourself where you're at and be realistic with your time of what you have. Then I'd say focus on getting some aerobic capacity. And so that could be going for a run, that could be going for a walk, that could be going for a cycle, a swim, whatever you kind of choose. But that's your health. That's like your heart health and really keeping you going. And then obviously find something you enjoy. Also add some element of strength training. And strength training could be literally proving and helping you get strong enough to get up of a chair and stand back up, you know, up and down, like basic movement patterns that we all kind of take for granted when we're younger. Then the moment we start get to older, we start realizing there's so many other elements out there. So I would say those are some key tips and principles to like work by. Get something that's going to be good for your heart health and movement, but also something that's very either skill related or strength related, and then something you enjoy. And then that comes down to when you really know yourself, you can actually then decide what that looks like in terms of frequency of training per week. And I'd always say like a good base could just be 2 to 3 times a week, you know, and then
That's
obviously
perfect.
if you have time, if you have time to push it up over time and you feel like you can do that, then do that. But it will always change and it will always depend on someone. So I wouldn't prescribe anyone right now anything directive, which is kind of obviously everyone wants the answer, but it's for you to know what works best for you. You have to constantly apply yourself and you have to bring awareness to your day and to your mind to be able to get the best and the most out of you, rather than kind of copying something, just, you know, something. I mean, that can always work too. So like having a program that someone else has sold and everything is also very helpful because you have something to align with and follow.
Yes, but then you need to check if it actually aligns with yourself or not. And as you said, you need to know yourself on a deep level and know maybe if you have some injuries or if you have some, I don't know, blocks within yourself. Like you cannot just go and blindly copy someone. And I love what you're saying, that it's a very individual approach because everybody is different. Everyone's energy is different. Everyone's like, you know, posture is different. Everyone's spine is different. Like everything in each person is different. So I really love that you don't give like a specific answer. And I feel movement few times a week, generally speaking, is good for everyone, I guess. But then what kind of movement? How do you want to proceed with this? Like what do you need to eat as well, like to support yourself in these goals? I really love that you don't give the straight up answer. So that's really, really great, you know, because it's a really good approach, I believe, the individual approach. And I'm a mindset coach, so for me it's also like I never just give for everyone the same homework, right? Because one person is going to
No.
struggle with self-esteem, one person is going to struggle with self-love, and one person with something else, and it's like you never can just measure everyone with the same ruler. But can we maybe talk about general,
Let's go.
are there any even general like ways to set up your mindset for achieving your goals in fitness or in anything in life, really? But let's focus on fitness right now. Are there general tips that people can use to set up the mindset in the way that they can achieve their goals?
Yes. So we can always look at a number of areas in terms of getting someone set up. Again, I think the first thing that comes back to anything is clarity. If we don't have clarity on who we are and what we're about and the energy and kind of the person we're becoming and being, we won't be able to follow a path or see what we want to achieve. So I think the first point is really getting clarity in that. For everyone looks different, but it's again sitting down with yourself, and it could be 5-10 minutes, it could be whilst you're going for a walk. I always say pen to paper, because it's quite I would say it's an old school method, but it's so proven by psychologists that it actually helps, because we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and from that point we really need to focus on making sure that we're really fine tuning on all of those things, so when we're when we're focusing on those sorts of things. Okay, so we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And when we have those kind of things, you've got to imagine, like, sometimes they're spiraling out of control. Like, can I achieve this? Can I not achieve this? I don't even know what I want. I'm going to follow the quickest thing that can get me the quickest result, or whatever. Those thoughts aren't always your own, because we're listening in on what other people are saying to us, what we're being sold to. So if we don't even know from that standpoint, like, who we are, and when I say who we are, is we start to really home into those core values. So there's a lot of information, there's a lot of people out there who I love learning from, to really home into, like, making a list of those core values. So I always, like, there's loads, from confidence to honesty to kindness to all these different levels, and it's focusing on what speaks to you and what really aligns with you, and how do you live your day by those values. So it's always drawing. You can search on a list in Google that just says 100 core values, and loads will pop up just to give you kind of a bit of that inspiration. But I'd say from that kind of basis is that when you're focusing on those, and you can write 3 to 5 of your core values. I'd start with 25 initially, just to really kind of get your personality out there, understand a little bit more about you, and then start to home into the ones that really show up a lot more often and pretty much every day. So, like, big ones to me are growth, freedom, honesty, are ones that I really align with, and connection. So I always love, for me to be thriving, I need to be connecting to more people in life. And again, how does that operate through my life, business, travel, to like the gym, for example? So, like, where am I growing? What am I doing? What am I learning to help me grow? So when we have those core values, we can apply them every day, and we can start to really look at that broader kind of spectrum of everything that contributes to our life. So when you're choosing the people who you want to hang around with, who do they align? Where do they fit into this scenario? If yours is like based on trust, but you haven't got that good enough relationship with someone who's meant to be a good friend, but they don't help you in certain journeys or whatever, or like, it's just listening in and homing into what you said to yourself and who you are versus the surroundings around you. And I think when you really have that base level of those, that's going to start directing you in so many different choices. So I'd say that was the initial long-winded bit of the tip. First bit of the tips is clarity and understanding your values. So when you really have that basis, you can start to set your boundaries. And setting your boundaries, when you know who you are and the path that you're starting to drive forwards with, you can start saying no to so many more things that do not serve you. So if your goals are to run a marathon, and you've got friends who are constantly convincing you to go out, and go have drinks or things, and that's going to be not just detrimental to that night out that you're going, but it's also going to be detrimental to the next day or the next day after. You might feel hungover. So it's learning. I always use that as a common one, because we always find that friends and peers can be disruptive in those moments. So it's, once you know who you are, you can really stand by that voice. You can really stand tall and strong and be like, no, I'm good. I've got to train for this tomorrow. Like, I can't do this. So once you have all of these things and this premise of that, it really starts to help you drive forwards on those parts there. And then I'd really say, once you've got kind of those falling into play, is obviously setting those goals. So we can go big, or we can, I'd say, start smaller, lower your expectations, or if have your bar set so low that when you start achieving these small wins, it's going to seem like you're having the best days and the best weeks. Like, don't get me wrong, there's ebbs and flows. Like, it's not always going to be like feeling like amazing and you're going to be hitting them all the time. But I always say, keep your expectations low, set the bar high, but know that where that goalpost is, your path might just change over time. So learning to dance with the failures, learning to dance with the successes, like, really understand that it's a journey that you're on. And yeah, I think that's a very broad, like, broadening that out. But I always say, you have to go back and you have to keep refining. You have to keep going over the things that work for you, the things that aren't necessarily working for you, but ask those questions why. And that's the biggest thing when I coach all my clients is, and the biggest shifts is the awareness around everything, because I see so often there's so many programs and things everyone can buy onto. But if you ask yourself, what am I really learning from this? Or what have I learned from this? Otherwise, you just go tick through the motions and you're not actually learning for yourself. Okay, I've got to create this morning routine. I've got to create this evening routine. So when you actually learn and sit down with that pen to paper and you go, right, this is my morning routine, or this is where I'm at now. This is the perfect routine that I want to get to. And you got that gap in between. We're going to start making small gaps just to get your bedtime routine going. And I think so many people try and jump to the big goalposts rather than look at the smaller details that actually build up your day. So when you nail your morning routine, nail your evening routine, but just before bed, look at how you're planning your meals. What do you have if you're really busy and you don't have access to making an hour-long meal? Like, you literally just have 10 minutes. What can I do in that 10 minutes time? What can I have as snacks? And the more prepared you are, or the more times you repeatedly do something like that in those routines and creating those discipline, it will start to help you build those goals, but also add to that sustainability,
Beautiful. I loved what you shared, really. And I can relate it to myself so much because, I'm Polish, and in Poland, alcohol is such a national thing. And when I stopped drinking a few years ago,
vodka,
it's like, but you're not going to drink with me, even one shot of vodka, And I know I can relate to this so much. And as well, I feel like I've done so many different routines in my life just to improve my health. And I know how challenging it can be sometimes to have resistance, to be like, I don't want to drink this thing every day, every single morning, or I don't want to do this. But once you actually go through the emotions of like, I don't want this shit, right? And then you let them out of your body, then you're in acceptance. And you're like, oh, it's actually not that bad to prepare this meal or this smoothie or this whatever else every day. Or it's not actually that bad to wake up earlier to do a little bit of yoga or exercising in the morning. Once you go through this emotional block, this resistance that can arise, then you're like, oh, okay, now I can accept it. Now it's way easier for me. And I loved what you shared about taking it step by step, even if it's small steps, because then you can have these little wins, right, throughout your week. And then, I achieved this, and then you're like building the positive association with your goals and with what you're achieving. So yeah, I freaking loved everything you shared. And unfortunately, we're gonna have to finish this short podcast today right now, but I really loved all your advice that you shared, because it's really spot on. Everything about the mindset and the boundaries, I feel like it's so spot on. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us and with the world. And if someone would like to contact you and find you, maybe have a online fitness session with you, what's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, for sure. So at Lizzie Wright Fitness on Instagram. And then my website is wearebeyondstrong.com.
We are beyond strong. Whoa, that's a perfect name for fitness coaching. Amazing. I love it. Thank you so much, Lizzie. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. Speak to you soon.